Okay, so once again, good day everyone. So this time, actually this will not covered with our discussion, but I'll just want to cover this one because it's so important. Sometimes no, the Filipino people, yun tayo yung sinasabing sugod ng sugod. But it is important for us as especially no the business owner or an entrepreneurship no, or an entrepreneur must understand no the risk management in entrepreneurship, no? Because again, we need to accept the fact that the word risk derives from the early Italian risicare, no, which means to dare, and this sense risk is a choice rather than a fate, no? It is an inherent trait in humans to take chances. So we believe that even though the future is uncertain, we can make calculated choices based on our knowledge of past occurrences and the outcomes will be skewed in our favor. So the opportunity for reward is also reflected in the Chinese word to risk, no? Which means danger opportunity. So opportunity and threat are therefore the two faces of risk, and on balance, each side has the potential to prevail given the right circumstances. We take chances because we believe that there is the possibility of successful outcomes. No, taking chances, same as your decision to enroll the master's degree, drives economic and social progress as people strive to discover new facts, develop new ways of doing things, and create wealth through the provision of goods and services. No, risk. We can define risk, no, in a variety of ways. Now, however, the essential feature of risk is uncertainty. Without uncertainty, there is no risk, only clear danger. Some of the most common definition of risk will be, of course, a systematic way of dealing with hazards and insecurities and introduced by modernization itself. So, risk is the potential of losing something of value, weigh against the potential to gain something of value, and values such as physical health, social status, emotional well-being, or financial wealth can be gained or lost when taking risks resulting from a given action, activity, and or inaction, foreseen or even unforeseen. Risk is an intentional interaction with uncertainty. Risk perception is the subjective judgment people make out over the severity of risk and may vary person to person. Any human endeavor carries some risk, but some are much riskier than others. Because the chance that an investment actual return will be different from the expected can be referred to as a risk. And risk includes the possibility of losing some or all of the original investment. Different versions of risk are usually measured by calculating the standard deviation of the historical returns or average returns, no, of a specific investment. So a high standard deviation indicates a highest risk or highest degree of risk. Okay, so we have a lot of types of risk. So to give us more details about the topic, let us all welcome our presenter. Go ahead, sir.
Topic is all about risk assessment management. Good morning, everyone. My topic is all about risk assessment management on e-commerce. The learning objectives are as follows: risk assessment definition, step in risk assessment checklist on e-commerce, the 10 common risks with e-commerce, and how to manage and mitigate e-commerce risk. So let's start with the introduction. So, as we all know, e-commerce is booming. Online shopping has evolved considerably over the past several years, but it's become an essential service in the wake of the global pandemic. In 2020, reports estimate that retail commerce sales grew over 27.6%, which equals to 4.28 trillion in annual growth. Online sales are sometimes the core business model, but it's also become a viable alternative for businesses seeing a decline in brick and mortar shoppers. But along with the advantages, there are caveats to consider. While an e-commerce platform may avoid the risk of customers stealing merchandise from the shop floor, there are a host of potential problems and risks that are unique to digital businesses. These risks include the unlawful sharing of data, fraud, malware, and other security breaches, not to mention vulnerabilities related to working with third-party platforms, data privacy laws, online security regulations, and customer service issues. So, quick overview lang tayo ng definition ng e-commerce. So, electronic commerce or e-commerce, it is the trading in products or services using computer networks such as the internet. So, nadidiscuss naman yan previously ng mga reporter. So, let's move on to the next slide. So, let's move on to our main topic, which is the risk assessment management. So, risk assessment is a primary management tool in ensuring the health and safety of workers. What many people perhaps are not aware of, however, is that they are actually a legal requirement for employers and certain self-employed people. Whether you're wondering how to complete a risk assessment or are unsure of their relevance with your industry. So for this topic, no, we have to conduct risk assessment on e-commerce. So these are the risk assessment steps. So first, identify the hazards. So sino-sino nga ba yung mga tinuturing natin hazards sa company natin or sa business natin? So I have identified the human cause hazards because sometimes meron naman human intent or error. So yun, na nagre-result siya ng failed system. Kaya siya na-identify as one of the hazards. So second, determine who might be at risk. Siyempre, the business owner and siyempre yung mga IT people or kung sino man yung involved doon sa ano na yon sa system na yon. So third, assess the likelihood and severity of the risk. So yun, i-check nyo lang yung seriousness. Meron naman table guide dyan kung 1, 2, 3 or kumbaga highly severe, severe or etc. Kung ano man yung tawag doon. So, fourth, actions. Identify actions to eliminate or control the risk. Or yan, dyan na yung pagpaplano natin and yung pag implement natin nung gagawin natin para ma-eliminate and ma-control yung risk. Then lastly, evaluate. Conduct an evaluation. Why conducting an evaluation is important? Because we have to see if the actions made are enough to eliminate and control the risk. Okay? So, if you recall sa subject natin before, sa business statistics, meron tayong tinatawag na business statistics, business analytics. So, meron tayong tinatawag na ROA or yung risk opportunity assessment. So, yun, doon nagigauge kung talagang yung risk na ba na yon kapag nagawa nyo ng action plan and na-implement nyo is effective. So, parang ganun din yung cycle nito. You have to identify, determine, assess, actions, and evaluate. So, further, ma-review nyo ng maayos and makuha nyo talaga yung best possible solution or yung best actions to eliminate and control the risk. So again, why risk assessment is important. So, of course, to guarantee your business long-term survival, so you have to use a risk assessment matrix to quickly identify what could go wrong and estimate the potential damage that could arise from the event of the occurrence. So, with this way, your e-commerce business or your individual business will be in a position to prioritize the most significant threats and mitigate them as early as possible. All right, so we're done with the definition, the steps, and then the importance. So our next topic is all about risk assessment checklist for e-commerce. So we have the strategic risk. So what are the strategic risks? So these risks are the risks that may affect your business strategy, your tactics, your plan to use to promote your online stores. So under the strategic risk, number one is the unpredictable consumer behavior. As we all know, the online channels nowadays are certainly growing, no? As most of the involved in the traditional setting are now adapting also the e-business setup. So for consumer buying behavior, from the start, we have to know our customer as they are the lifeblood of our business. So we have to understand their needs and wants, what drives that behavior on purchasing a product. Second, how to capture that lightning in the bottle moment. So meaning when you turn a potential customer into a buyer, no? So we have to further strategize in order to cope up with the customer's behavior. The second one is the reputation risk. So reputational risk, one of the many reasons why customers are patronizing a product or a brand or services is because of its reputation. So as we all know nowadays, even a single positive or negative advertisement, so it can easily circulate across social media. So as much as possible, we have to be careful and engage our audience or our customers into positivity so your business won't be affected. The third one is the competitive pressure. So competitive pressures, this situation in a company or a business typically faces pressure due to its competitor. So obviously, kaya nga competitive eh. So those new in the market or in the business needs to further strategize on how to penetrate the market or the e-business when it comes to branding. So nowadays kasi ano na siya, parang it's a brand war na talaga. So ang daming same product but the brand dun talaga nakakatalo. So it depends upon the business owner kung paano sila makaka-adapt doon sa ganung setup or sa ganung change. So talagang maglalaan ka ng masusing pa-plan para sa ganun ma-implement mo ng maayos yung strategy mo nang makasabay ka sa competition. So we have here a study from New York Times. Last year, the 10 largest retailers accounted for 68% of all US e-commerce sales, with the Amazon representing more than half of the online sales. So booming talaga ang e-commerce. So okay, we're done with the strategic risk. So next, we have the operational risk. So, what are the operational risks? No? So, when we talk about operational risk, we refer to the possibility of the incurring losses due to different reasons. Number one, human, okay? So, or yung people. So, next is the environmental, external, and infrastructure errors among others. So, under operational risk, first is the cyber risk. So, yan, that's the common and obvious risk for e-commerce, no? Yung mga phishing, vishing, and identity theft. So, we have here a study again, last year, based on an estimate of 65,000 successful ransomware attacks, no? On every 8 minutes on average. And experts predicts that it will only get worse. So, ano nga ba yung ransomware, no? Yung ransomware is a malware designed to deny the user or organization to access to file on their computer. So, hindi mo talaga siya magagamit. Ang nagiging ano na lang dito, resolution ng mga business owners is from the word ransom. So, parang nagde-demand ng ransom yung hackers. So, they tend na lang to bayaran. Okay? So, bakit? Kasi mas mura daw yun based sa mga tawag nito, sa ibang business owners. So, yun. In order to encrypt, so magde-demand sila ng ransom payment. So, we're paying ransom they are paying ransoms because it is the easiest and cheapest to regain their files. So next, the supply chain disruption. So it encompasses everything from the delivery of source materials from suppliers to manufacturers and to the end user. So the effect of operations may create higher prices and shortages among high-end consumer products. So here, yung sa study ng New York Times about ransomware. So these are the common security risks: phishing, vishing, and impersonation. So we're done with the strategic and operational risk, and now let's discuss on how to mitigate and manage the e-commerce risk. First, we have to harness the power of data and analytics. So as a company or a business, we can just leverage data science or the advanced analytics technique to analyze purchasing habits, project consumer behaviors, and customize digital shopping experience and principles principles to attract valuable information from data for business decision-making and strategic planning. The second one is to plan for multiple scenarios. As e-commerce player, we have to take one level further in order to prepare your response to a range of risk scenarios, such as acts of nature, the pandemic, and human caused hazard. So it is how you would respond to an online outage or a ransomware attack. The third one is look for the upside of the risk. So not most of the time, we are barely affected by the downside of the risk. As e-commerce player, we have to look for the upside. Because as retailers, you are more vulnerable in social media. You also have to be flexible to reinvent your brand and identity. So faster a retailer with physical store. And all in all, these risks come with extraordinary upside and the potential to create lasting value in the market. So to be more specific with the topic, I identified the 10 common risks with e-commerce. The first one is the data privacy and online security risk. So this is something similar with the cyber risk. So as the hackers becoming more and more sophisticated every day, meaning they are revolutionary na in a sense. So the solution to this is here. The best way to avoid the data breach is to prevent it. Establish and enforce a strong data privacy and online security policy. Train your staff and incentivize them to become data security champions. Implement protocols like two-factor authentication to add an extra layer of accountability. The second one is the unauthorized access. So it is not necessary naman for everybody to have the access. No? Bigyan lang natin to doon sa dapat magkaroon ng access doon sa here are the few things we can do to prevent unauthorized access. So the solution is to restrict access. Employees should only be able to access files they need. For example, your content creators do not need access to your back-end code. So number 3, so the exploitation of vulnerabilities. So some malicious actors are always standing by to take advantage of your exposure. So meaning, nandyan lang sila nakabantay para kung sakaling may mag-open up na opportunity, so they can penetrate you, no? So, lax protection may leave you open to attack. So the solution to this one is to keep software SSAS and plugins up to date. Remove and uninstall incompatible plugins and themes immediately. Enable firewalls and virus protection, but don't rely 100% on your device settings. Look into more comprehensive solutions based on your data protection needs. Number 4, human error. So, this is the common, okay? This is the common risk na nawawala yung mga data natin or common risk on data loss. So, most of the time, it is just an innocent mistake. So, the solution to this one is to deploy a backup and recovery solution like Rewind. So, Rewind online backups allows you to restore and recover quickly after an error, minimizing downtime and helping you to get back to work faster. So number 5, no, platform downtime. So even the world's most reputable platforms like Shopify, BigCommerce, and QuickBooks, so need to schedule also their downtime to update servers, security, and maintain their code. However, lengthy or frequent downtime will impact your productivity and reputation. So the solution to this one is to do your homework and choose wisely. So look at what others are saying about your company, both through reviews and on user forums. Check comparison sites so you could understand the pros and cons of each platform. Choose a company with a good reputation and high uptime. So sino-sino nga ba yung mga vendors na yon, no? Si Salesforce, Google Workspace Apps, Microsoft 365, HubSpot, Trello, Netflix, Zoom, and Zendesk. So, number 6, bad CSV file. So, bad CSV file is great way to upload high volumes of data quickly, no? But they don't always work. The problem is you often know where error lies. If you are on a timeline, this can be a major problem, impacting sales and causing a great deal of stress. So the solution to this one is installing a backup and recovery solution won't fix your bad CSV file, but it will help you get back to a pre-state error until you find the issue. So this will be your interim solution. Number 7 is the non-compliance. So as we all know, compliance is essential to every e-business. No, make sure that your business follows the policy of the state or adhere to their mandates as outlined in the General Data Protection Regulation or GDPR. So if you don't comply, you will be penalized simply. For example, here in the Philippines, if DTI is requiring you to register your business, so you have to register, you have to comply. And the solution, so be sure that you understand your obligations under all applicable data privacy laws. Number 2, update your websites and online properties to ensure you are using current versions. Number 3, fully vet and qualify all vendors as the question of who controls the data and where it is stored may become an issue if there is a breach or complaint. Lastly, ensure all third-party SaaS is compliant with the international data and security laws. Number 8, incompatible software plugin. Incompatible software plugins rely on the third-party SaaS to make sure our lives easier, but not all apps are created equal. You might read up on a solution and get excited about the possibilities, but if it is incompatible with your platform, theme, or other apps on your systems, you might be in for an unwelcome surprise when suddenly nothing works or looks as it should. So the solution to this is use software plugins and add-ons from reputable vendors. Do your research before you deploy. Update audit regularly to ensure there are no issues. Okay, so ano ba yun yung mga plugins na yun yung mga cookies. So yung cookies is a way for a website to remember you, your preference, and your habits online. So number 9 is the poor customer experience. So why poor customer experience? Because customer experience is everything these days. If your site is slow to load, if visitors can find what they are looking for, your site is difficult to navigate or understand, or if your content such as images, descriptions, blogs, etc. is low quality, most won't hesitate to click away and then probably won't return. So the solution to this is invest time and effort into improving your website and store design. Make sure your e-commerce store is responsive, meaning it is mobile friendly and looks and performs the same on any device. Put your most popular products up front and create landing pages for all your ads. Last, loss of premises due to disaster. Why loss of premises due to disaster? So disasters happen. They come in many forms, no? Like fire, flooding, building collapse, electrical grid failure, power surges, internet failure, and the list goes on. So having the right to protections in place will help you get back and running so your e-commerce business can carry on. So the solution is design and implement a disaster recovery plan or DRP that recovers every possible scenario. So one significant aspect of any comprehensive DRP is cloud backup and recovery software. With your e-commerce store and all its data secured in the cloud, you can be confident that none of your vital data is lost, no matter what happens. So this slide represents on how you will lose your data, no, or data loss. So the data can leak to an outsider resulting in a breach. So data, ano ba yung mga mawawala or yung kino-contain? So trade secrets, account numbers, social security numbers, intellectual property, personal health records. So can leak or by means of stored on network or shared drives, copied on external removable media drives, transmitted electronically via email, IM, online, etc. So to who? To an outsider, either the competitor, regulators, authorized internal users, press, or media. So the results may business defamation, monetary expense for each record lost, legal liabilities, loss of assets, breach of customer trust, and worst case scenario, close of the business. In this slide naman, no, this represent on how to safeguard organizational asset against security breaches. So first, yung backup. So implement backup and recovery processes. Second, network security. Update software when requested. Encryption. Keep data safe with encryption software. Email vigilance. Watch for suspicious emails. Passwords. Use multi-factor authentication. Secure Wi-Fi. Secure Wi-Fi with passwords and set up guest domains. So privileges, set access permission and limits access. So these were previously discussed sa mga previous slides. No? Alright, so we have identified the 10 common risks and their solutions. Also, we have outlined many different scenarios and talk about ways to reduce the risk involved with running an e-commerce store. So as risk mitigation is an ongoing practice, meaning you can't let your guard down for a moment. Today's burgeoning threat environment is just one among many concerns, and none should be taken against lightly. Smaller e-commerce operations tend to think that they aren't attractive to malicious actors, but the opposite is actually true. So ransomware targets businesses of all types and sizes. Cybercriminals often know that the smaller operations are easier to gain access to, often because companies with only a handful employees do not have or enforce a security policy or train their staff as to the risk of security threats. Okay, so to sum up today's e-commerce risk and advice, if you don't want your company to be part of the statistics, take the necessary steps to protect yourself. Implementing the solutions outlined above will reduce risk, lower liability, and help you recover quickly if you do experience an incident. First, ensure your security protocols are updated. Institute strong security policies around passwords and network devices. Regularly monitor for suspicious or fraudulent activity. Use security platforms and firewalls. Design, implement, and enforce a strong security policy. Educate your staff on how to detect incoming security threats. Implement regular security training sessions for all employees and contractors. Work on your DRP and update regularly. So when you're looking to reduce risk, it helps to work with a company that understands the e-commerce environment and knows how best to mitigate any situations that arise. Whether you're a large company or a small business just starting out, protecting your e-commerce website and digital assets means you are also protecting your customers and their data. So that's all of my report.
Okay, so thank you very much, sir.
So here are my references. Again, thank you and good morning.
Okay, so thank you very much. No? uh, as an entrepreneur, uh, we just not only look into the income, no, but we need to consider some risk. No? And as what our presenter mentioned, no, we have a business risk, no? And considering, of course, the internal, organizational, and operational, strategic risk, no, innovation, and other risks. No? So when it comes to external, we have environmental or natural risk, no? Technological, as what e-commerce mentioned, no? Which is more focused. The health and safety is also mentioned by our presenter, and even the political and economics, no? We need also to avoid risk, no? By internal control documentation. No? We need to consider our bank accounts, no? Cash and checks, conflict of interest issues, and disbursing monies to employees, no? So risk analysis is a technique used to identify and assess factors that may jeopardize the success of a project or achieving a goal. So, and this techniques also helps to define preventive measures, no, to reduce the probability of these factors from occurring, and identify countermeasures to successfully deal with the constraint when they develop, to avert, no, possible negative effects on the competitive of the company, no, because a risk analysis is greatly improves the decision process. So a decision process will be based not only on the expected outcomes on the project, but also on the mitigation strategies put in place, no, and the remaining risk surrounding to the project, no. While it is impossible to know the unknown, it is possible to forecast, no, the likelihood of unlikely events occurring and plan accurately. Okay, so actually we have what we call facilitated risk analysis process, no. We have benefits of risk analysis is also considered, no. And because risk management, again, as what our presenter mentioned, is a process, no, of identification, analysis, and either acceptance or mitigation of uncertainty in investment decision making. Essentially, risk management occurs anytime an investor or fund manager analyzes and attempts to quantify the potential for losses in an investment and then takes the appropriate action given their investment objective and risk tolerance. Now, the overview of a risk serves to highlight the major components of a risk and the tension surrounding its definition, types, delegations, no, analysis, and management. And these tensions are grounded in the subjective interpretation according to the concept of risk. No? Risk is risk as can be observed from the above mentioned and discussions of our presenter, as well as, of course, it should not be avoided but managed by the sales of entrepreneurial productivity. And risk management as well as its analysis is very important, no, to every business, as proper evaluation leads to efficiency. I'm so happy that our presenter give us the possible risk and he give us actually a possible solution, because even e-commerce or an entrepreneurship, risk is what can easily be observed under the business risk category earlier, no? And as such, one can only come up with the term that risk managed is income worthy. So I think that's it for this topic. Thank you very much, sir, for this additional discussions related to e-commerce. No, this will be the exact title of our course, no, which is so important. No, we just not only eyeing the income, some challenges, but we need to address some risks. Possible risk actually in putting up a business, specifically when it comes to e-commerce, no, digitally, because again, we need to accept the fact that the National Privacy Commission, no, wholeheartedly perform their duties and responsibilities to implement, no, their IRR, no, the Data Privacy Act of 2012, no. So as an entrepreneur using a digital marketing, using a digital platform or e-commerce, we need to look into these aspects. Okay, so I think that's it. Thank you.